I hope everybody is able to hear me and see my screen. So we'll start. Firstly, a little context about the session. This this session will not be typically your content-heavy session in which I'll tell you what GD is about, but it is how to prep for your typical GD and various scenarios it will handle. And this will be a one-way interaction, but you are free to stop me and ask your doubt after unmuting because I won't be able to see your chats or in general, overall, I won't be able to see your chats or if there is a net fluctuation also, please text me on WhatsApp if you have my number. But yeah, so this is typically how the session will go. So firstly, something about me, as you might see in the poster, that I'm a engineer who is pivoted to marketing in terms of I've gone through Wipro Consumer Care in the Yardley London brand, and my role was critically go-to-market strategy for the new products they were developing. And this GD session is basically I have generated with the help of my fellow PGP2s. And some things about me is I have gave about 30 plus mock GDs last year during my SIP prep, and I have cleared 8 by 9 GDs in the cluster 2. These are very bad numbers, firstly. So why these are bad numbers, we'll discuss throughout the session, and what can be improved from these numbers, we'll see. Okay. Firstly, this session is to improve your GD. So why GDs are very important, this although is discussed, but it will be a make or break for your marketing and genman roles, irrespective of your profile, because companies want to evaluate more candidates. They even gives GD shortlist to even weaker profile candidates, not like your CV shortlist of interviews, which are very rare in consulting, as you might be getting shortlist now. Also, now that the Placecom has given you the preferencing rules, we see that a lot of companies derives its interview preference from the GD performance. For example, hotlist and soft offers are also given just after the GD is over, and that's why GD comes as a very important part of your interview prep. Okay. Nextly, we see that it will be your GD performance will be also your benchmark to selecting your preference. For example, if I have two interviews, let's say ITC and Wipro, my Wipro GD went very well. While ITC is not that bad, I might keep Wipro as my top preference because I have higher chance of converting the GD, because the company also might have kept as a preference. I hope this might be clear. You can ask for a reiteration anytime. But your aim for clearing a GD is to be in the top two of any of your GDs. While clearing means the entire panel also can be cleared a GD, or only one person can clear GD, but your target should be the top two of your GD. Why? Because clearing a GD does not mean interview shortlisting. Okay, as I mentioned, 8 out of 9 is not a good number, because I might not get interview shortlist for all the 8 GDs. Consider this as an example. There are 8 panels, 64 candidates are GD shortlisted for a particular company. Out of them, half of them were cleared their GDs because they did pretty well and not shown any red flags or whatever. But there will be only shortlisting for 8 interviews because they are the top 8 in terms of the company's preferencing. Then 8 people are only people who have cleared the GD and not the 32. I hope you are understanding the severity of the situation, because I might have cleared all the GDs, but I might not be interviews scheduled for a particular company just because I have done but not worse than the other people have done. Okay, so that's why it's very important to stand out in the particular GD, so that you can be in the panel's top preference. Okay. Uh, Moving on, the aim for this session, although niche GMLs have already conducted the session, is to help you prep for the GDs. It's very obvious. But at the same time, it also reduces the asymmetry of information around the campus. There are a lot of seniors giving a lot of information, and because of that, some people might miss out on some information. This is a kind of a collated version of the important information which you will need when you go in the GD on the cluster day. At the same time, it also helps in improving the overall quality of GDs in your mocks as well as the final clusters. So we can show the IIM Ahmedabad quality in front of our future recruiters. At the same time, the recording will be provided in some days. We'll figure out when, but it will always also be a last minute revision for who has not prepped at all for the GDs or have messed up their C1 and has to go to C2. This is a quick recap for how GDs are conducted and what is what. Okay. Finally, this is not a stream specific session. It will look GDs in a particular angle, tailor made for your SIP prep, and also breaks into specific actionable steps which you need to improve your GD from your soft skill perspective, and also we'll look at the various scenarios. Okay, so as we see, your aim is to be in the top two. How will you achieve it? You will achieve it by standing out without showing any red flags. We'll discuss red flags in the subsequent slide. We see there are a lot of GD pain points which every individual faces. Like there are people who are very soft spoken. There are people who are struggling to articulate. There are people who get anxious while speaking. There are people who can't structure points, don't get enough content while speaking. There are also brain fog and memory blanks in between discussions. We'll see everything as we go on in the particular slide. So let's start with the actual discussion. There are various types of discussions and there are various expectations recruiters have when they come. So it can be divided into typically four types of GDs. You can research these types of GDs from your seniors and map the companies with the discussion so that you are better prepared for the actual GD. For example, a fish market GD is very different from a board discussion GD. If you swap that, that will be detrimental for your chances of getting selection. We'll see what are these types of GDs, starting with the fish market type of GD. This is a very common GD, usually considered as also a marketing type of GD. Why? Because there are a lot of people who want to speak a lot of things on the actual cluster day. Because of the heat of moment, there are a lot of clashes, a lot of people starting together, and hence the speaking more and speaking loudly, speaking more audibly is considered as a quality in this kind of GDs. Why? Because on the actual cluster day, you already cluster one is happening. There's a lot of desperation to speak. Okay, and if the topic is like that and the people are very overpowering, we see that two or three people start speaking together. We see that the quality of points here take a backseat, but also though not entirely gone because quality is always appreciated. At the same time, yeah, at the same time, we also see that cutting someone off or interrupting someone usually happens and sometimes also tolerated by the recruiters. Why? Because typically sales job entails a lot of heated debates, and hence it is very important for recruiters also want people who are very energetic, active, aggressive in this kind of GDs. How to win the GDs? Firstly, there is always a structure put in for a particular discussion. Try to follow the structure. If not, you can state your best points. Why? Because as the GD progresses, there are people who will be more desperate to speak up. There will be people who would like to speak up and not spoken up in the first half. They want to speak up. There will be a lot more desperation in the second half of the GD. So it's better to state your very good points early on. Uh, the problem with this kind of GD is these are rarely practiced in the mock interviews because there is not much desperation in the mock interviews. So whenever you're doing mock interviews, try to speak as much as you as much needed. At the same time, the quality should also not deter. Okay, so getting three points, very good crisp points, will be helpful in winning the GD. At the same time, if you fumble or take very too long to answer, ramble, globe, someone will definitely cut you off because this is the feature of the GD. The main point of the GD is if three people start speaking together, you should be the one who should continue. Because if you're not, you will never able to speak in this kind of GDs. Okay. Let me give an example. This, I think people who have given my cluster X GD will know. This particular topic, bad product cannot be compensated with good promotion, is a very easy topic. There are a lot of examples associated with a lot of perspectives. So everybody wants to speak. And because of this, there is a lot of clutter. So if this was conducted by ABN last year, in which there was uh, lot of discussion, lot of heated debates happening, and there are a few people who did not speak even a point. So for that, you have to speak a lot in this kind of GDs. We'll see how you will speak more in the subsequent slides, but this is the foundation for fish market GDs. Extreme example of this kind of GD is a offline online kind of GDs which are conducted by one or two companies. I personally don't like this kind of GD because no one knows who is speaking. The only first few speakers usually win because in an online GD, like people zone out, moderator also will zone out after a few minutes. So people who are speaking more loudly and the first speakers only usually get selected in this kind of GDs. Okay. Second is a boardroom discussion GD. Typically, conglomerate, genuine type of companies conduct this kind of GDs. A very famous example is the chairman GD, if you have heard of it. Is the exact opposite of fish market GD, in which we need to be very professional and polite and consider yourself a very high stake leader of a particular unit sitting in the discussion. Okay, these GDs are is done to evaluate your character as well as your leadership ability. So recruiters prefer this kind of skill sets. Some hygiene checks and red flag for its GD is that there is no interruption. You cannot cut anyone off in this GD. If you do, please say go ahead and move on with the discussion. Okay, if you cut people off too much, you are out of the GD. No questions are, even if your quality is good. While this is a controversial topic, recruiters prefer if you not cut a girl off anywhere in the GD, even if she's speaking the whole GD. This is something recruiters want. So this should be taken care of very diligently throughout the GD. Speaking too loudly is also no in this kind of GD. Appreciate each other's points. Any unethical recommendations on the case or any prepositions which will harm any stakeholders is a no-go in this kind of GDs, because you need to consider the brand image of the case or the brand itself. How we will win this GD? The good thing about this GD is everyone gets to speak. So you will be able to put forward your point, but the quality of point matters greatly, because this is a very structured GD. Your point should actually add value to the discussion so that it should have a very structured conclusion at the end. Okay, and show leadership. We'll see exactly what to do to show leadership in the subsequent slides. But a typical problem which comes in this boardroom discussion is ethics versus profit. While companies appear to be very ethical, but also they must make profit, right? But for this kind of discussion, being ethical is absolute must and should be taken care of as against the short-term profits to protect the brand image and the long-term brand image of the particular brand. For marketing, it's a more balanced approach when both ethics as well as profit needs to be taken care of. Let me give an example. For example, Tata continue with a supplier who has child labor in his factory? Okay. So with this kind of discussion, if someone says that yeah, they should continue, it's a very big red flag, because for a company like Tata, they value ethics. People know the Tata brand image. If someone tells me they should continue support if it comes to media, it will be detrimental for the brand image of the Tata. So you should understand where profit is important, where ethics is important, and there's a balance in this kind of GDs. Okay. Third type of GD is the creative ideation, where the moderator prefers uh, creativity. They want out of the box thinking, and usually gives a real time problem for the particular discussion. Uh, Typically, what candidates are supposed to do is go beyond text to point and demonstrate original thinking, which is very important for brand roles in general. So, how can you do it? While creativity on a very high pressure situation is very hard, that's why we need to do a very extensive backup prep in terms of note making of using different industry example. For example, you can take as a furniture industry, pharma industry, apparel industry, very B2B marketing, salesman, relationship management uh, in your repository, so that you can use these examples when this kind of GDs come forth. At the same time, if a particular company, you can look into his competitors and suggest this is doing this, that's why we can also do this. Okay. uh, how you can do this: typically keep up with news and some innovative innovations in marketing and tech in general, to get some ideas. So how can this only quality of points or the creativity is also very helpful in other types of GD, not in creative ideation like the in fish market GDs. Also, these are very appreciated, because these are points which also moderator also has not think about. For example, if we see ITC has given this last year that they want a new product category to venture into a beverage space. So they are doing a category expansion. So if someone has told me let's do soft drinks like Coca-Cola, it will be a very bad point because there is no creativity. Yes, but if someone tells me ki Red Bull is doing this, Monster is doing this, Prime is doing this, let's do something which more on the Indian taste and make an energy drink out of it. And that's how we can go into beverage space. That will be very much appreciated than the first point. So that's how creative ideation works. Okay. The last type of GD is the collaborative GD, which Wipro every time does. Is the activity or group problem solving. This GDs are basically you are given a task and you need to work in a team to get out of the task. Typical last year's problem was make a tower as long as your height using cups, newspapers, and sellotapes. So physically, cups, newspapers, and sellotapes are given, and you are supposed to make a tower out of it. People who are given mica recruitment process, admissions process also have done similar kind of GDs also. The aim for this engineer is to find a team member, but not a mindless follower. So you need to have both team player skill set, also some kind of leadership skill set also. A few tips from this side is before starting the actual activity, you should discuss how you will solve the activity, have a structure in mind here also, and then start solving that, just mindlessly solving. Uh, Team player skills here will be reminding people of timings and approach. If we have less time, remind them we don't have time. Please do this. Staying positive and motivating your teammates. This is highly seen by the recruiters across. And after this, the main part is will be the feedback post activity, in which after the activity is done, whether they have failed or not, we'll discuss how what went wrong, why it went wrong, who are the MVPs of your team, etc., etc. A major red flag is every time or mostly questions are asked, who is the worst teammate among the 8 or 10 of you. If someone answers this question, he will be out, because it will be very bad to deter someone here. So avoid giving the worst teammate name, even if it explicitly asks. You can ignore the question. It's fine if you don't answer, but don't give out names that this person has not done good because of so reason. It is very bad for your GD and your personality overall. Okay. So since we have discussed the perspective and have a context about what expectations out are there from your recruiter side, we'll see how you can improve and give a good GD. So as we are management students, I made a framework on how you can improve your GD. So basically the CCs of acing a GD is clarity, which is the clarity of speech, vocal delivery, articulation, the content, the quality, actual quality of the points, and the confidence, how the overall presence you put forward in a particular GD. Starting off with content, which is also explicitly covered by the two career clubs, but also I'll reiterate some of the pointers while giving some red flags. Points in general is a typical idea backed by an example or data points and enhanced by a keyword. Okay. So these three parts which are highlighted are very important in and will be evaluated in the particular point. Okay. There are basically 5 types of points. One is the introduction, which is giving a structure to the overall GD plus your initial point. So it's not just like you give a structure and leave it someone else's to continue. Your structure and say the first part of the structure as your point. Okay. Some basic tools which are used in giving structure is pros and cons, stakeholder management. There are various frameworks you can start off with, but if you have a problem with giving an introduction, you can skim through the consult casebook of various frameworks. And also, you should practice some cases of market intent profitability from your consult casebook. Why? Because introduction are very important in answering interview questions also. So at the same time, it's also important when noting down points in the actual thinking time, the 1 minute or 2 minutes which is given before the GD. It's very important to note down points. So structure will help you, make a very comprehensive list of points. So that's why an introduction is very important and it should be practiced irrespective if you are willing to give introduction or not. Okay. Secondly, if someone starts with no structure or a very weak structure, the second person can take up the call and give up again a good structure or a better structure which can be followed throughout the GD. This is very important because the quality of GD will determine if there is no structure. It's just people speaking and there will be no structured conclusion of how you came to the conclusion. So it will look very bad on the panel as a whole. Okay. Enforcement of the structure for a fish market GD, since everyone wants to speak, then it's very hard to get it enforced. At the same time, creative GD is also very hard to get a structure enforced because everyone wants to speak and have very varied perspective. So it's okay if your structure is not enforced, but if you're introducing a structure in a boardroom discussion, it should be heard and followed. If it's not, it will be a very bad like negative point on your part. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, some red flags for the introduction is don't name the framework in the GD. There is no 4P, 4A, 4V, nothing. You can apply that implicitly. For example, in terms of 4P, you can say, let's look into product categorization, how to price it, distribution, and finally how to promote it. So this will look much better than, okay, let's start with the 4P structure. Recruiters don't like frameworks in general. So it's better to start with this. At the same time, if there's a particular topic, don't repeat your topic in the introduction. Okay. So that because everyone knows what the topic, you can just start with discussing the topic and not feel, okay, let's discuss the following topic and then start the topic. It's not needed. Okay. This is the introduction part of it. The conclusion part of it is the reiteration of main points to give again a solution for the GD. Every discussion is done to get a solution in perspective. If there is no solution for GD, the GD is there is no point in doing a discussion, right? So every GD should have a discussion. So if it's a pros and cons, yes or no, there should be a yes or a no at the end of your conclusion. Okay. People who are doing conclusion, the skill set require listening. So you need to listen properly all the points, and make note of the points so that you don't miss out the main point discussed in the GD. So personally, I don't do conclusion because I am not a very good listener per se. I don't like note making in the GD because I want to speak more. So that's why I don't do conclusion. People who are very good at listening are able to recall all the pointers should do conclusion because it's a last point and hence it's very impactful. Similarly, introduction is the first point and hence it's very impactful. And these two pointers are very easy to do. Okay. So for conclusion, there is no standard tip of how to improve it. It's just mock GDs. If you conclude in mock GDs, by time you will improve. Okay. Some red flags is don't conclude if someone else has concluded. It's a very bad taste. Don't get any new points in the conclusion. It's a reiteration of the old points. Don't give solution opposite to discussion. Then there is no point of you being in a discussion if the opposite conclusion is there. Okay. It is important to practice both intro and conclusion. While you might be specialized in one, it's very important because in an interview type question, there also might be cases asked to you in both general and marketing, and you need to get a structure in mind before answering. And also, final a conclusion of how you came to the solution. That's why it's very important. Also, chairman GDs, you have to do both. Okay. Finally, this is something which is not followed mostly by people is wearing a watch. Okay. If you are someone who is introducing, you should know when the 2 minute time is up for thinking, and that's why you would need to be the first person to start the introduction. At the same time, you should be aware of the now there is 45-second left in the GD. I should be one starting the concluding. For that, you need an analog watch. So please make sure whenever you are doing a mock GD, please carry analog watch with you. Okay. Okay. So moving on with the rest of the point, there is a leadership point. Is very important for boardroom discussion. Leadership point shows character, but is not considered a standard point. Hence, it needs to be added in between your fund. For example, if someone has not spoken for the whole GD or half or more than half of the GD, you can encourage that person. Okay, okay, let's person X speak because he has not spoken. You can do this after your point is. For example, uh, if your point is XYZ, after XYZ, okay, now please let person X speak. At the same time, if someone if we are going tangent very if we are going very off topic or we have been discussing a particular topic in mind, we can always think, okay, we have been discussing this topic for a while, let's move on with a different perspective, and then you state your point in that perspective. Don't just leave, okay, okay, let's discuss in some other perspective and not just start your perspective. That is also going haywire and a tangent to the your point itself. So that does not make sense in terms of how leadership is pursued. Okay. Finally, there are certain people who have not practiced GDs, not attended sessions, even after a lot of sessions are conducted, that people don't know the basics of GD and might uh, indirectly spoil the GD in terms of, discussing on one example, not letting the discussion move forward. For example, if you are looking, discussing four P's, after the pricing, we might start discussing distribution, but the person is again going to pricing. So we can confront the person politely that now that we have discussed pricing, let's only focus on distribution itself. So this shows a character in you that you can take up opportunities and confront people, but also should be done very politely. The next is discussion point in terms of supporting or negating a person's point of view. Supporting is really agreeing with someone else's point and providing supporting examples or some new point in that favor. Contradiction is negating a good backing, negating with a good backing, but you should never contradict a good point, because of the good point, a discussion might move forward to a very good conclusion, but because of a negation, it might not, and that's why it reflects very bad on you. At the same time, by just discussing discussion points, you can't win the GD. Why? Because you also need to have your own perspective, your points. If you are lacking points, then this pointers will be a very good starting point to let you speak and have your presence in the GD. But you can't win the GD just by discussion points. At the same time, for a GD in general perspective, I'm speaking, any idea should not be discussed more than 3 points. Whether person A has spoken a particular idea, person B has negated it, person C has agreed. This should not move forward to person D. Why? Because it will waste time on a particular idea. We want to discuss more ideas, discuss more perspective, discuss more pointers, and hence it's okay to not should not exceed 3 points. Okay. Finally, a normal point or idea point. This point must add value. It can be a new angle, a new data point, a new example, or new perspective. Okay. A very big red flag which usually people do is half baked points. Okay. So if you are just giving a normal point without any backing or explanation, it is a half baked point. For example, if I tell that company X should do influencer marketing. This is my point. It's a very half-baked point because I have not mentioned why it should do influencer marketing. What kind of influencer are we looking for? Are we doing influencer marketing on YouTube or Instagram? So a very good point is कि because the company is targeting Gen Z, we should do influencer marketing because mostly people are now addicted to Instagram and Reels. We should make reel-based content, meme-based contents on through influencers. If it's a skincare category, we go for skincare influencers because now young women are very much into skincare and they are influenced a lot by the celebrities. So this is how a typical point should come up when discussing normal idea points. Okay. Finally, there will be cases everybody will face when you are out of points. Okay. When you are out of points, the best way is to get ready for conclusion. Then in GDs, typically in some recruiters, if they are humble enough or they are like giving enough, they will let a person who has not spoken conclude, but this usually does not happen. So if you're not spoken, just get ready in the back of your mind that you need to conclude in this kind of GD, whatever happens. If you are very nervous, take a 10-second breather, start thinking about uh, the topic given, look into again different perspective, revise your notes in the back of the recall your notes, what you can gain from your notes, whatever back-end research you have done for the particular, for your last 20-25 days which are left, you can look into that and try to get some sort of point out of it. Lastly, this is not recommended, but since you are out of points, you can rephrase your previously made point in a different angle or maybe in a different wording. I have seen this happening and people have cleared the GDs because of this. At the same time, you can also do the support negate thing also, which you support a particular point, negate a particular point to just give a presence. Again, this is not recommended, but since you're out of points, this is something you need to do because you can't just sit silently throughout the GD, right? Finally, after the content part, we'll move forward with the clarity part, which is very important on the soft skill part because any idle point is typically 45 seconds. If it's less than 30 seconds, it is not impactful enough, is not considered a point at all. Why this thing happens? Because you don't have the proper content to speak. If it goes more than 60 seconds, you will lose attention of the recruiter and your fellow GD mates or teammates because you are rambling or you're repeating the same point in the same sentence. So that looks very bad on you. You are considered as not articulate or not vocal enough. Okay. The aim is to a typical myth is if you fumble or stutter, it's fine. The focus should be on vocal well articulated points. Okay. So how will you improve the oral clarity? The best exercise to improve here, which a senior of mine suggested, which is a game changer. I recommend everyone of you should to try this. This is something uh, which is now not part of a mock GDs, but should be done after or before your mock GDs, which is, take a people who are, this is for people who are struggling with clarity and content in general, is that practice simple topics like global warming, AI in front of a mirror. Take 1 minute to think, 2 minutes to speak, record yourself, or you can use now AI also to speak and they will evaluate your pointers. This assesses your clarity and articulation. You redo it again with the same topic to check how well you are now articulated after 2-3 iterations. Okay. You can do this daily for 2-3 topics to improve your articulation. The next step after this is to take actual GD topics from your seniors or career clubs, which will be provided later. Uh, Give yourself 2 minutes to think. Think as many points as you can generate. Say them out loud. Okay, say them all out loud. Time the points perfectly. Then push your brain more to get more creative angles. See, you can get different perspectives. So push your brain. So then actual GD day, you have some new pointers that suddenly come to your mind. Lastly, see, use GPT to check for misses. Use GPT. GPT is a like great tool to use for your GD prep because it gives you new perspective, new pointers, which is very important and will build your bank also. There are times when your articulation is bad in your actual GD. This happens mainly because of two reasons. Firstly, you might be nervous. Okay. Secondly, because you're nervous, you're speaking so fast that you are like the thinking is much faster than what you're speaking. That's why the fumble happens. That's the logic behind it. So first happens because of the habit of speaking very fast. As you can see, I'm speaking very fast because that's my habit. Okay, so you need to make a conscious effort and practice speaking very slowly so that the people around you understands what you are saying. At the same time, they are they able to articulate, they are able to understand and then revert to your points. Okay, and so that the discussion can continue. Okay, so this mock in the mock GDs is something which you should do consciously about speaking slow. At the same time, there is a fear of someone cutting you off, which is a very valid fear because in fish market type GDs usually happens. This will not happen in boardroom discussion. That's a good thing. But in a fish market GD, you see, you cannot leave unnecessary gaps. By unnecessary gaps, I mean people will not cut you mid sentence. People will cut you between two sentences. For example, there's an idea and there's an example. If you think for more than 2 seconds in between these two, someone will start speaking his point and your half the point is gone. So for that, you need to practice accordingly that you are not cut off during the discussion. At the same time, you should practice finding that 2 second gap in between pointers of other people so that you jump in and start your point before anybody else can speak. So there is no tips of how to do it, but just practice about how jumping in after giving mock duties. There is no standard practice which can be followed here. Okay. Lastly, confidence is basically how you present yourself in the GD, how you state your point. It's not about quality of the point, it's about how you are stating also. So consider yourself as the head of a unit in a boardroom, in a board discussion or a high stake discussion, and you need to get your points heard so that you get what you want from the discussion. That's how confidence plays in. You can't change your voice in 20 days, but you can change your mindset. Okay. How? Confidence is speaking in intention. So you need to firstly have absolute confidence in your pointers and you should portray in such a way that you are selling something. A typical example is if you're gone to a restaurant, you want to and you really like the food and you're telling a friend that yeah, ye restaurant acha hai. You will not tell it very subtle. You will be more excited. You want this person to visit the restaurant, right? So you'll be a little bit more excited, a little more expressive. That's how speaking with intention works. Okay, so this should be practiced in the mock GDs to actually the people get to hear what you're saying and not just zone out because the attention span after Instagram reels has reduced. It's a lot harder for people to listen to you, especially if people are not listening to you. That's for people doing introductions. So if your structure is not getting followed, it's because you are not speaking properly with confidence. Okay. Some general tips and hygiene checks in terms of confidence is having open body language. You should not you know slouch or just talk with your eyes. You need to talk with your hands, properly express yourself how you are speaking. At the same time, you should maintain eye contact with every team member when you are speaking. Finally, you should not play with your hands or pen while communicating because it's shows that you are very uncomfortable with the current situation. Don't look down while speaking. This is very standard. Don't stare at the moderator. Okay. At the same time, we see that don't cut someone off unless you have a very good point, and don't cut someone off once or twice because again it looks as you are a bad team player. Finally, speak slowly because if you are speaking very loudly, it shows that you are underconfident. So very fastly it shows that you are very underconfident. Okay. Finally, you should never. Uh, finally, you should respect others' opinions while cutting someone off is right, but not should be done. Should not be done very rudely or very harshly. Okay. Some final tips from my side. Just a second. Yeah, since we have 5 minutes left, some final tips from my side, which will help a lot in your GD prep, uh, is one second. Huh. So while I have my first statement in my introduction was giving 30 plus GDs. That was a very bad move from my side because giving so much GDs is you are not analyzing your GDs. That means that you are wasting your time giving GDs. So the most important part is the backend prep which goes into GDs and not just giving mock GDs blindlessly. Okay. So instead of giving 30 GDs, it's better to give 15 GDs and analyze how you did in the GDs. Uh, take note of good pointers spoken by other people. Some moderator also give some good pointers in the cases or in general. Your seniors also give some good pointers after your discussion. So make note of that good pointers, examples. Ask GPT after the discussion is over and what can be more from this particular discussion. Okay, so this all are very useful to get a usable example bank or a topic bank, which will help you when you're out of points in your actual cluster day. So it's very important to do backend prep and not just mindlessly do mock GDs. Okay. Secondly, again, prepare an example bank and topic bank. Uh, how you can get very good examples is you can look into niche prep book. They made excellent prep book in terms of examples and keywords. At the same time, you can go into newsletters from niche and library, because going through news is very important. You get latest news about latest perspective. You can state something which the moderator might not know, which gives you an edge in the uh, particular GD. Some topics which you must do, because these are very famous hot topics, and if you are not doing it, you are at a disadvantage. For the AI and tech, ethical principles, major news like Trump will be asked in one of the GDs. It was asked last time also because he won the election. Now it might be asked because of tariffs. It might be asked. CSR can be asked. Companies are now focusing on either premiumization or Gen Zs. So these two topics you should do if you are focusing on marketing. Sustainability, diversity is also very hot topic. At the same time, some cases you need to prepare is a crisis management case from Maggie. GTM case is very standard. At the same time, the BOPM strategy, which Anish will organize a session from Professor Bora. It is a very good session and should be attended by all if you are focusing on data. Uh, Focus stress management, because you are giving 3 to 10 GDs. There are high chances you will be fatigued a lot. Your mind will not work. So it's better to chill out in the last 2 3 days before the GDs and not do any practice. Uh, just focus on opening up your mind and not take stress about the actual cluster day. Drink water before your GDs. Take a water bottle in your GDs. Take deep breaths before the GD to stay calm. Uh, have a Red Bull on the actual day, because it will help you stay awake. And finally, your friends will be your support system in the cluster days. So make sure your C1 friends are there to support you no matter what. Finally, keywords are your go-to for enhancement or your points. Why? Because you need to be very crisp in what you are saying. For example, if I tell that we should not do XYZ because our consumers more like it, and the long term it will affect us very badly. In not saying this, you can just say that we should not do this because it deters our brand image. This is a much crisper statement with the people also understood, and it also looks good. Uh, how can you do really well in keywords is you can go through the niche prep book. Also, there is a GD section for the prep book which you should refer to. At the same time, your notes which you have prepared from all the cases you have done. At the same time, there are some concepts of microeconomics like type of group, credence group. Some words of microeconomics looks very fancy when spoken in the actual GD, like the diminishing marginal utility, game theory concepts. A lot of things can be spoken from ME concepts and can be looked forward to. So I am done with my discussion. All the best for the next 20 25 days you have for prep, and make sure you perform your best, prep the best. And yeah, that's it.